I'm Ryan from ExtremeTerrain.com, and this is my review and installation of the Rugged Ridge polished aluminum cold air intake fitting all 1997 to 2006 TJs. There are a couple of different versions of this intake depending on which engine you have in your TJ, so make sure you get the right one for your Wrangler. Today we're going to talk through the installation of the cold air intake, which is a very simple 1 out of 3 wrenches. This will bolt directly in place of your factory intake without the need to do any major modifications. We're also going to talk through the construction and a few of the other features of this intake. A cold air intake is for those of you who want a little bit more noise from underneath the hood, especially when you stomp on the throttle, want a little bit more throttle response, and maybe a couple more miles per gallon. Now, while letting your engine breathe either in or out a little bit easier should theoretically lead to more power, our engines are very, very efficient right from the factory. So a cold air intake like this, while it may add a few horsepower, is going to do it at the very top of the RPM range where we don't spend a ton of our time. So I wouldn't expect this to make your Jeep feel like a race car or get a ton of additional power from it. However, it will have those other benefits that we talked about. Now, if you're somebody who goes off-road, and especially if you hit a lot of water crossings or a lot of mud, I probably would not recommend a cold air intake like this. It gets rid of the factory aqua box, which can allow you to get water or moisture into the engine a lot easier, which can cause problems such as hydrolocking. However, if you stay on the road or if you run dry trails and rocks, this could be a nice option for you if you're looking for a little bit more sound, a little more throttle response, and a few more MPG. As far as construction goes, this is a polished aluminum intake tube. It does come with a black powder-coated heat shield and a conical filter, which is a dry filter. This does not require any sort of oiling, but it's also not going to be reusable. You can always attach a reusable filter onto this cold air intake once this one gets dirty if you want to, but again, this is not going to be a reusable filter, which some cold air intakes will come with. That's something that helps to keep the cost of this intake down just a little bit. Now, the fact that this is a polished cold air intake tube, when you pop the hood, it is a little bit flashy. There are some black powder coated options on the website as well, if that's something that you would prefer. But if you like the slightly flashier polished intake tube, or if you don't really care what it looks like under the hood and you're just looking for the benefits, then this is going to be a great option. As far as installation goes, again, this is a very simple 1 out of 3 wrenches. The first step is removing your factory intake and air box, which is a fairly simple process. You will have to also remove your air temperature sensor and the breather off of your valve cover. Once all of that stuff is removed, you can go ahead and install the weather stripping over your heat shield, install the heat shield, then install your pipe and your new air filter. You also attach your breather tube and your temp sensor into the new intake tube to make sure that everything is going to work well together. This does come with all of the hardware, the clamps, everything that you need to get it installed. And again, the installation is going to be a very simple process. You will want to give yourself probably around an hour to get this installed, but you won't need any specialty tools to get it done, just some traditional hand tools. From a price versus value perspective, I think you do get a good bit of value out of this system. This is going to be a few dollars less than some of the other cold air intake systems that we do have on the website, and it's still going to include all of the components of a lot of those other systems. If you're okay with the polished aluminum, the fact that this is an aluminum tube means it's going to hold up really well over time. You're not going to have to worry about any rusting issues as you would maybe with a steel tube. And again, this does come with an air filter that is not going to be reusable, so if that's something that's important to you, maybe you want to look at one of those more expensive systems. However, if you're just looking for a little more throttle response, a little bit better miles per gallon, and that sound from underneath the hood when you stomp on the throttle, this is going to be an appropriately priced option. So if you're looking to get a little more sound, a few more miles per gallon, and a little bit more throttle response out of your Wrangler, a cold air intake might be the way to go. Again, I wouldn't recommend this if you do wheel in wet areas. However, if you stay on the rocks or you stay on the road, a cold air intake is a good way to get those benefits. So that's my review of the Rugged Ridge polished aluminum cold air intake fitting all 1997 to 2006 TJs that you can find right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.